The storm had been building for hours, rolling across the city until it crashed against the glass walls of a Thalgard Institute like a force that refused to be ignored. Wind pressed against the panels with a low, guttural pressure, the kind that made even a modern hospital feel strangely mortal. Inside, the hallways were dim and quiet, lit only by the steady glow of emergency strips guiding the night shift staff. Elena Vance tightened her grip on the chart in her hand as she walked. 3 consecutive shifts had drained her to the bone, but routine kept her upright. Routine kept her careful. Routine kept her from thinking about how easily one mistake could follow her for the rest of her life. She stopped at the restricted door and keyed in her access code. Room 717, the only room on the entire floor that always felt colder than the rest. Inside, Elias Thorne lay motionless beneath the soft hum of machines that kept track of the thin thread connecting him to the world. Nothing about the suite resembled a typical ICU. The lighting was warmer. The equipment looked experimental. The silence felt curated. Elena stepped in and closed the door behind her. The usual smell of antiseptic mixed with something subtler. Money, she thought. Money changes even the sound of a room. "Evening, Mr. Thorne," she murmured out of habit. "Let's see how you're doing." She checked ventilator pressures, then 4 lines, moving with the efficiency of someone who had learned to stay steady even on no sleep. His monitors showed the same quiet patterns they always did. Elias Thorne, billionaire innovator, the man whose company funded half the institute, might as well have been a marble statue for all the response she got. She replaced his half-empty 4-bag and logged the time, her hands steady though her thoughts weren't. Someone like Elias lived in headlines even while unconscious. The world kept talking about him while he lay here, silent and unaware. Her phone buzzed. Thorne Biotech stock plummets 15% overnight. Board preparing emergency vote. She exhaled through her nose. "Well," she murmured, eyeing him, "if you plan on stopping that freefall, now would be a great time to get up." Just a sarcastic comment to fill the silence. But the monitor beside his bed blinked faster for a fraction of a second. Elena didn't notice. She tucked her phone away and returned to work. Outside, the storm pressed harder, vibrations rattling through the glass. Then the elevator dinged down the hall. Strange. No scheduled rounds. No one else assigned to this wing. Her instinct sharpened. She stepped back just as the door opened. Julian Thorne walked in with the posture of someone who believed walls should move for him. Snow dusted his tailored coat. His expression was sharp enough to cut the dim light. Behind him came Dr. Malcolm Sterling, head of endocrinology, respected, meticulous, and never on night shift. They didn't acknowledge her. Didn't expect another person to be present. "Sir," she greeted politely. "Dr. Sterling, I wasn't told about any after-hours examination." Neither man answered. Julian moved closer to the bed. Elena knew the look. Family who expected privacy, authority, control. She quietly slipped back into the anteroom, letting the cracked door hide her. She didn't intend to listen. But the first sentence rooted her in place. "Everything is ready for tomorrow morning," Julian said. "Once the board signs, the transfer is irreversible." Sterling nodded and pulled a slim metal case from his coat. "And as for him, nature will take its course." Julian's voice dropped colder. "Make sure of it." Elena's pulse quickened. Sterling uncapped a syringe and held it up to the light. "This will keep him in deep suppression until dawn. By the time anyone notices the glucose drop, it will be too late. No traceable C-peptide. No questions. Insulin. A fatal dose disguised as treatment." "Good," Julian said. "By morning, his signature will already be on the acquisition contract. His death will be unfortunate, but convenient." Sterling injected the insulin into the 4-bag with terrifying casualness. When they left, Elena didn't move. Her mind scrambled for any explanation besides the obvious one. There wasn't one. She stepped back into the room and stared at the 4-bag Sterling had touched. It rocked slightly. God, she whispered. She checked his chart again. Nothing. No legitimate order. No medical indication. Fear and duty warred inside her. If she confronted them, she had nothing but her word. If she did nothing, Elias would be dead within hours, of natural complications. The storm cracked outside. Lights trembled. The wing flickered once, twice. Then darkness swallowed everything. Machines clicked off. Alarms wailed. The storm had taken out the grid. Emergency generators kicked in, weak, low, throwing the room into uneven shadows. Elena hurried to Elias, reattaching sensors. His glucose levels were plummeting. Panic clawed her throat. She adjusted his airway, but exhaustion crashed through her. Her hands felt like lead. Her body buckled. She leaned forward for only a second, her cheek brushing the fabric of his gown. Only a moment. But a moment was enough. She fell asleep on top of a dying billionaire. She didn't see the monitor spike. Didn't hear the first ragged inhale tearing through Elias Thorne's chest. But he heard everything. Her voice. Julian's orders. Sterling's plan. The storm. The betrayal tightening around his life. His fingers twitched. His lungs strained. His jaw tightened with the will of a man who had built an empire by refusing to die. His hand lifted, weak but deliberate, and closed around Elena's wrist. Her eyes snapped open. She stared at him, uncomprehending, until he opened his. Elias Thorne, silent for months, focused on her with chilling clarity. "Miss Vance," he rasped. "According to the news you read, I have 4 hours before everything I own is stolen." Her breath caught. "Pick up your phone," he ordered. "Turn on the recorder." His grip was weak but unyielding. "I'm offering you $50 million for your loyalty tonight." She shook her head. "Mr. Thorne. Or," he whispered coldly, "you can scream, and they'll call you the nurse who murdered me." The storm hammered the windows. The monitors beeped steadily. Elias wasn't just awake. He was awake with purpose. And she was now part of it. Whether she wanted to be or not. The room felt too small for the storm outside. Elena stared at him, pulse thundering. She had seen emergencies, but nothing like this. Nothing like the severity wrapped in this man's rasped command. "Elena," he said. "The phone." She turned on the recorder. Not for the money. Not out of trust. But because she understood the alternative. "Good," he breathed. "Now listen carefully. You're going to document everything that happens tonight. If I don't make it to morning, that recording becomes evidence." "You need a doctor," she murmured. "You heard the doctor already," Elias replied. "He came to kill me." She couldn't argue. "Look in the waste bin," he said. She hesitated. "Why?" "Verification." She opened the stainless steel bin. An empty insulin vial glinted under the dim lights. Exactly the dosage Sterling described. "It's here," she whispered. "Now you understand," Elias said. "They won't wait long. Sterling will check my levels soon. If he sees I'm not declining, they'll accelerate everything." "What do you want from me?" she asked, trembling. "What I said. 4 hours of competence. 4 hours of helping me stay alive long enough to ruin every plan they made." His tone wasn't soft, but it held something unexpected. "Trust." "I'm not a detective," she whispered. "You're a nurse," he said. "And you knew something was wrong." She swallowed. "If we do this, what's the plan?" "Counteract the insulin. Keep me conscious. Then get to the server room. Trigger my failsafe." "Failsafe. Every empire has a second heart," he said. "Mine beats underground in a room full of machines." A digital deadman switch. Biometric activation. If he didn't trigger it by sunrise, the board would declare him incapable and hand everything to Julian. If he triggered it tonight, The acquisition froze and alerted federal oversight. "So you want me to help you get to the basement?" she whispered. "Yes. You can't even stand. That," he said, "is why you're here." She steadied him as he lifted his arm. His skin was cold. "Heavy glucose," he said. "Bottom drawer, red label." Her training took over. She drew the dose. He watched her with intense concentration. "You're good at this," he murmured. "It's my job." "No," he corrected. "Your job is to follow orders. What you're doing now is choosing the harder path." She injected the glucose. His eyelids fluttered as warmth returned to his face. "What next?" "Corticosteroids." "Right cabinet." She administered them. His breathing deepened. Relief flickered. "Now help me up." "What?" "We have to move." "You can't possibly." "Elena," he said, locking eyes with her. "Every second we stay here, we wait to be killed." Logic won over fear. She brought the wheelchair. Transferring him was delicate. His weight sagged heavily against her, but he didn't make a sound. Once seated, he steadied himself. "It will get worse," he warned. "My lucidity won't last. Hours at best. And when it fades, then the rest of this night becomes your problem." A chill ran through her. She pushed him into the dim hallway. Alarms echoed from distant wings. "Left," he said. "Use the service corridor. Not the main hall." He guided her like someone who knew every inch of the building, not as a patient, but as the architect behind it. At a junction, he pointed. "That panel. Access terminal." "For what?" "To reroute security." "How do you just know how to do that? A man doesn't build a company like mine without learning to protect it." He pressed his palm to the scanner. The building responded, locking doors, shifting lights, redirecting patrols. 10 minutes. "You look worse," she murmured. "That's because I am." Meanwhile, in another wing, a monitor blared. Dr. Sterling frowned. Elias Thorne's vitals had spiked. Too early. Too strong. Another alert. Room 717. Patient unaccounted for. Sterling's expression hardened. "Sir," he said into his phone, "we have a problem." Back in the stairwell, Elena pushed Elias as cold air bit at him. He shuddered violently. "Stop," he whispered. "Elias, we can't." "I said stop." She halted instantly. He leaned forward, gripping the rail, breathing hard. "Elena," he rasped. "Listen." Elias's voice was thin, his eyes closing as if forming each word took focus. "When we reach the basement, I need you to brace me. I have to place my hand on the biometric pad myself. If I'm not conscious enough to do it, don't talk like that," Elena whispered. He opened his eyes again. They were clearer now, painfully present. "I'm not talking about dying," he said. "I'm talking about failing. I'd rather die than fail." The conviction in him startled her more than any threat had. She knelt in front of him, steadying his trembling knees. "You built a life where everyone followed your decisions," she said softly. "Tonight, you're trusting someone else. That's not failure." His jaw tightened, as if he wanted to argue but couldn't. "Don't let me drift," he murmured. "I won't." Private security swept the halls in tight formation, responding to Sterling's alert. Elena and Elias slipped into a maintenance corridor just in time, hiding behind rows of equipment carts as heavy footsteps echoed past. Elias pointed toward a metal door. "That leads to the lower mechanical wing. Go." She pushed him through it, and alarms erupted behind them. Sterling must have overridden Elias's interference. They had seconds. Elena pushed harder, her heartbeat thundering. Elias's head sagged, breath shallow. "Stay with me," she urged. He didn't respond. His eyes lost focus, his shoulders slack. Panic shot through her. "Elias." She shook him gently. No reaction. His glucose was crashing again. Damn it! She fumbled for the emergency kit, her hands shaking. She slapped his cheek lightly. Look at me. His eyes fluttered open, just barely. Elena. His voice was fading. Not yet. He was slipping. A coma was seconds away. She grabbed the adrenaline vial. This is going to hurt. A faint smirk ghosted across his lips. Pain means I'm alive. She injected it. Elias's entire body jolted, breath surging back into him. His eyes snapped open, sharp, bright, almost reborn. Good, he rasped. Move. They reached the morgue, 2 insulated doors, cold and silent. The hospital never bothered monitoring this room. Why here? She asked. No cameras, he said. And Sterling won't search a room full of bodies unless he has to. Elena swallowed. She hated the morgue. Too many endings. Too many families who never had time for last words. Elias pointed to a workstation. Check the archive treatment files. She pulled up his chart. It looked normal. Too normal. But behind a physician-level login, she found hidden treatments, insulin doses, sedatives, suppression therapies. She opened the authorization page. 2 signatures. Sterling. And another. Her stomach twisted. Elias. This signature. She didn't need to say the name. He already knew. His father's signature glowed on the screen. The betrayal hit him like a physical blow. His shoulders sank, breath trembling, not from weakness, but from something deeper. For years, he whispered, I believed the people closest to me wanted what I wanted. That the legacy mattered. I built walls to keep enemies out, and all the while, the gates were opened from the inside. Elena stood beside him, unable to speak. When I was a child, he said, his voice low, my father told me the world would come for anything worth having. What he didn't tell me was that sometimes, the hand that protected you is the first to let go. Her heart tightened. She placed a hand on his shoulder, not as a nurse, but as someone witnessing a breaking point. I'm sorry, she whispered. It helps, he said. How? She asked. It tells me exactly what I'm fighting for. He straightened, not stronger, but sharper. We're going to the basement, he said. And we're finishing this. For the first time that night, Elena nodded without hesitation. The elevator to the basement was dead from the storm, so Elena pushed the wheelchair down a spiraling concrete ramp. The deeper they went, the colder the air became. Elias's breaths grew ragged, his lucidity flickering like the unstable lights overhead. Talk to me, she said softly. Anything. Stay awake. He exhaled stiffly. When you walked into my room tonight, I thought you were another disposable face in a world full of them. That's honest, she muttered. I'm past filtering. But you weren't disposable. His voice steadied. You were the only one not pretending. They reached the bottom, a reinforced steel door like a vault. That's it, he said. Elena pushed him closer. The biometric pad blinked red. His hand lifted, shaking, too weak halfway through. Elena. I've got you. She braced his arm, steadying his wrist so his fingers could touch the scanner. A beep. The door unlocked. The room inside glowed with cool blue light, rows of servers, encrypted consoles humming like the heart of something powerful. This is your failsafe, Elena breathed. This is where every secret leads, Elias replied. Where Julian thinks he's untouchable. Where Sterling believes I'm powerless. He exhaled. Let's prove them wrong. At the main terminal, Elias hovered his hand above the console but couldn't reach the final inch. Elena, he said quietly. If I lose consciousness again, you run. Save the recording. Don't look back. No. Elena. You didn't choose me because I would run. You chose me because I wouldn't. He closed his eyes, letting the truth settle. Help me finish, he whispered. She guided his hand to the glass plate. A soft chime filled the room. Monitors surged alive with cascading data. Legal triggers, encrypted locks. Elias exhaled a sound between relief and pain. Then a voice cut through the air. "Well," Julian said from the doorway, "isn't this touching?" Elena spun around. Julian entered with 2 armed guards. Sterling hovered behind him, pale and shaking. Elias didn't even turn. "You're late, Julian." Julian smirked. "You should have died quietly. Would have been cleaner." Elena stepped in front of Elias. Julian laughed. "Look at you. The night shift Florence Nightingale. How much did he offer? Money. Morality." "I heard your whole plan," she said coldly. "It's recorded. You're done." Julian arched a brow. Sound means nothing when the only witness dies in an electrical fire. He nodded to his men. But the building hummed. A security panel blinked from green to red. Every steel door in the corridor slammed shut. Julian spun. "What?" Elias finally looked up, eyes sharp. "You never understood," he rasped. "This building listens to me." Julian's confidence cracked. "What did you do?" "I activated Unfit Guardian," Elias said. "You're finished." Julian lunged, but his own guards restrained him as law enforcement orders crackled through their radios. Sterling collapsed in defeat. Julian seethed. "This isn't over. You're dying. You think she can save you?" Elena turned, expecting anger. Elias only looked tired. "You should have aimed higher," he whispered. "If you wanted my throne, you should have learned what it cost me." "And what's that?" Julian spat. "Everything." Sirens wailed above. Guards lowered Julian to his knees. Sterling raised his hands in surrender. The crisis was over. But Elias was fading fast. Elena knelt beside him. "It's done," she said gently. His eyes found hers, soft, solemn. "You kept your promise. You kept your life." "Not for long," he murmured. "But long enough." His vision blurred. He leaned back, breath weakening. "Elena," he whispered, "this is where I fall. You walk from here." She shook her head. "No. I walk when you tell me you're safe." A faint smile touched his lips. "Then you may be here a while." His hand slipped from hers. His eyes closed, not in fear, but surrender. Emergency responders rushed in moments later as Elena held onto his hand. Morning sunlight washed through tall windows of the Thorne private estate. Elena entered quietly, carrying a leather folder. No scrubs. No badge. She moved with calm strength. "Good morning," she whispered. Elias lay in bed, still and quiet, hair longer now. The coma held him, but he looked more at peace than he ever had awake. She sat beside him, opening her folder. "Quarterly reports," she said lightly. "Everything's steady. The Foundation loves the robotics program." She smiled faintly. "Julian got 15 years. Sterling got 12. Your father disappeared after the indictment. Betrayal looks quieter when the lights are on." Silence filled the room, not empty, but alive. She took his hand. "You won, Elias. Even if you never wake up to see it." A soft beep broke the stillness. Another. Then, beneath her fingers, a subtle movement. His index finger curled gently around hers. Elena froze, breath catching in her throat. She didn't call anyone. She didn't speak. She just held his hand, letting that small, deliberate touch say everything a man like Elias Thorne would spend a lifetime struggling to admit. Hope didn't always come loud. Sometimes, it pressed back against your palm. Quiet. Steady. Alive.